Welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And we now continue the Anime X DC Chapter 1. Last year, what I started was Chapter 1, but I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to go straight into the next chapter, if you will. So basically, take what happened last year and take what happens this year, group both of them together, and you'll have the official Chapter 1 of Anime X DC Comics. Now, unlike with the Anime Marvel series, this one I'm not really building towards a crossover event of sorts. Well, at least not in the full totality. I do have one crossover, that being the Earth 1 verse, that I'm working on in the wings, and you'll see that as time goes on. But for now, I don't really want to do a whole another multiversal big story event, but rather I want to do self-contained, simple world stories with the combination of DC Comics and of the world of anime. And today, we're going to be continuing that with the Dragon Ball World's Strongest. What if Wonder Woman was in Dragon Ball? Part 13, as we now enter into the Android Saga. So now, let's get into today's video. And as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Before we get into the beginning of the story, I'd like to take a brief time to give a recap, if you will, for any of our new listeners or for anyone who just needs a little reminder about how things work in this world and how this crossover came to be. So, in this universe, when the northern part of the universe, where Goku and where Earth resides, was formed, the Supreme Kai, a long time ago, created something that was to serve as a special gift to the Earth. That came in the form of Themyscira, that being where the Amazons were created especially for the Earth. Now, the Amazons were supposed to serve as cultivators for the Earth, if you will. But not too long after, with mankind plunging itself into various points of darkness, states of war, and things of that nature, the Amazons decided to mainly keep to themselves as their own unit. Now, Themyscira in this universe serves as a special island, if you will, or known as the Paradise Island. Now, in the original DC Comics, it's said that the Amazons are immortal and that they are the souls of women who lost their lives violently due to men. Well, I don't want to take inspiration from that aspect. However, I do want to say that the Amazons do have a special immortality, if you will. So allow me to go into the brief explanation to how it works. You see, in Dragon Ball, it's confirmed that there is a fountain of youth, if you will. And not knowing exactly where it is or how it works, that's where we're going to use Themyscira into play. And we're going to say that the fountain of youth relies on Themyscira. That's how the Amazons are able to retain their youthful vigor, if you will. You see, they grow to a point of a prime age, where they can't get any older, but they can't get any younger thanks to drinking the waters from Themyscira. Now, this is specifically for the Amazons. That being that by using the Fountain of Youth, they're able to retain their, youthful vigor. However, it doesn't mean that they can't die from being killed or in combat or things of that nature. It's also where Master Roshi found the Fountain of Youth in his younger years when he met the Queen of the Amazons, Diana's mother, and they had a relationship of sorts. However, it never progressed to anything truly great, and I'll explain to you why. You see, for the Amazons, in order to use the Fountain of Youth to its fullest extent, they have a little bit of a caveat. You see, if an Amazonian woman were to ever become pregnant and have a child, then the properties of the Fountain of Youth would no longer work for them, meaning that they would eventually grow old and die. However, because of the physiology of the Amazonians, you can say that they age at around the same pace as, say, a Saiyan. So because of that, when Diana chose to leave the Mascara, when she chose to start a family with Goku, she basically forfeited her rights to having full, pure immortality. Now, as far as how it works for the humans, it's basically how it worked for Master Roshi, but then again, it's the rare exception. So even though, technically speaking, anyone could gain the immortality from the Fountain of Youth, Master Roshi is the only person who did it because he managed to charm the Queen of the Amazons. But again, he's the exception to the rule. So don't think that anyone else is just going to be able to drink the waters and just gain immortality, because that's not how it works. Also, on top of having the Fountain of Youth, they do have regular, like, streams, rivers, and ponds to drink regular water. So, like, the Fountain of Youth is something all in of itself, but it's not their main source of water, if you get what I'm saying. So, now, after explaining all of that, we can now go into the brief summary of the world, pretty much. A young Diana travels out to the world of man to go on her own adventure. During this time, she meets with a young Goku who's around the same age as her, 12 to 13. This is a Goku who had recently suffered the loss at the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament at the hands of Jackie Chun. The two would go on their own adventures throughout the world, and she would eventually participate in the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament. It's here where Diana would end up becoming the victor, beating Goku in the finals. Not too long after, they would eventually have the events of the King Piccolo arc, and there would soon come the time of the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. This is where Diana would prevail once again. Because of her strength and because of her physiology as an Amazonian, and with the training she had received along the way, she just narrowly edges out Goku in advancing to the finals, where Diana would be the one to face off against Piccolo Jr. and defeat him. After this, and after a brief stint of training in and of itself, there would be one more World Martial Arts Tournament. Now, you might know this as the 24th World Martial Arts Tournament. This was the tournament that was originally won by Hercule. However, in this timeline, because Diana has the same competitive drive and edge as even Goku does, they decide that they were going to compete in the tournament one more time, just so that Goku could have a chance to battle against her and claim the title for himself. Diana and Goku would meet in the finals of the 24th World Martial Arts Tournament, where Diana would be attempting to go for a three-peat, but she would lose to her husband Goku. And not too long after, they would have their first child together, that being Gohan. As for the other Z fighters, they all pretty much remain the same relatively, except for Chi-Chi. Now, Chi-Chi in this universe has a rivalry with Diana. The reason being is because Diana pretty much stopped Goku from marrying Chi-Chi. Because when Chi-Chi had asked Goku to marry her, Goku didn't know what marriage was. Diana, however, would explain to him what marriage was before he actually went through with it. And allowing Goku a chance to actually think for himself, he comes to the realization that if he understands what marriage is to be, he doesn't want to get married to Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is heartbroken by this and she blames Diana. So she goes out searching for power. This leads her to the fortune teller Baba, and using some of her magic, she gives Chi-Chi a transformation of sorts. This makes Chi-Chi the cheetah, if you will, of this universe. She grows her own cheetah tail, she can transform into the female cheetah-like state, and it grants her a boost in power, strength, skills, although it's more along the lines of not just strength, but also her senses are enhanced, like hearing, smelling, taste, touch, all that stuff. So that's where the Cheetah versus Wonder Woman dynamic comes in this world also. So, eventually in time, they do manage to have a healthy rivalry, and Chi-Chi does eventually get over her crush on Goku. Not too long after, you would have the arrival of the Saiyans, that being in the form of Radix. However, because of the overwhelming numbers, and because unlike Chi-Chi, Diana didn't stop Goku from training, although he would take some steps back to help out with raising Gohan, Goku wouldn't be as weak as he was in the original timeline, but he wasn't significantly stronger either. However, with the combined efforts of Piccolo, Wonder Woman, Goku, Krillin, Chi-Chi, and all the rest, they managed to subdue Radix. Also, Wonder Woman in this universe does still have the Lasso of Truth, and it does function like the Lasso of Truth from DC Comics. Using the Lasso of Truth, they learn about the Saiyans' potential comings to Earth and Radix's origin as Goku's brother. And that deep down, Radix really didn't want to kill his brother or harm his nephew, but after learning more about his past, they're able to understand more about him in a different way, meaning that Radix survives in this timeline. Now, when it comes to deciding who's going to train with King Kai in Otherworld, Diana is the one that's chosen, while Goku would stay on Earth to watch after Gohan and the others. In this timeline, Gohan is trained to fight, so he's not entirely scared like he is in the original, but instead he's a lot more balanced and reserved. It's not that Gohan doesn't receive any form of education, it's just that education isn't his driving force, but at the same time, fighting isn't his driving force either. Gohan's still trying to figure himself out in the world, but now he has all of his options open to him, and he's not limited to just choosing to be a scholar or a fighter. He can basically be whatever he wants, but he now understands the importance of fighting, and as such, he's more willing to get involved. In the meantime, Diana would travel across Snake Way, and she would be the one to train with King Kai, and she would learn the Spirit Bomb along with the Kaioken. Now, granted, on one hand, you might think taking this away from Goku's arsenal or toolkit might be a bad thing, but really, when you look at everything else that Goku gains in the grand scheme of things, him losing these two sort of weapons in his arsenal isn't going to be that big of a difference. Eventually, the Saiyans would come to Earth, and Goku and the others would have to hold down the fort fighting until Diana would arrive. Unfortunately, there would be some losses and some casualties of life, but eventually they would manage to get the upper hand in defeating the Saiyans, killing Nappa and sparing Vegeta in the process. This would lead to their adventures on Namek that would play out a little bit differently, although the main focus would still remain the same. This does lead to the ultimate encounter between Lord Frieza and against the Z Fighters, where unfortunately Gohan would lose his life. This would spark a change within Goku and Diana, with Goku powering up into the legendary Super Saiyan, and for Diana, she would receive a power-up that was all different of her own. But that'll be explained in due time. Because of the events changing differently, with Gohan being killed and with Goku and Diana being even more pissed off than before, there is no sparing of Frieza, and the original planet Namek is not destroyed. Frieza would meet his end on Namek, and Goku would survive, along with Diana and with Gohan being resurrected with the Dragon Balls. Vegeta would also survive this encounter, and, wanting to learn about the Super Saiyan power himself, would agree to explain more to Goku about the Saiyan race and about what he was, in exchange for learning how to gain the power. So, that leads us to where we are now in the story. All of our other heroes have returned to Earth safe and sound, save for Goku, Diana, Gohan, and Vegeta, who have traveled out into space and eventually arrived to the planet of Yardrat. During the year time skip between the end of the Namek arc and, well, the arrival of the Trunks arc, That's where Goku, Diana, Vegeta, and Gohan had spent their time. Gohan still reeling and recovering from his, all-death experience, and Diana attempting to understand her newfound power, along with Goku and Vegeta, who would be instructing Goku and Gohan on their Saiyan heritage, as well as trying to learn Super Saiyan for himself. Now, Diana would speak to King Kai via telepathy, as she would try to figure out what exactly she had done. King Kai would explain to Diana that due to her rage-like state and due to her physiology as an Amazonian, meaning that her body was capable of taking on immense pressure and external forces of energy far greater than the average human could, she had managed to push Kaioken to its highest state, what I am now dubbing as Kaioken 1 million. This being a state where Diana's hair changes from its dark brown to a fiery glowy red. It almost seems like her hair is on fire. Kaioken 1 million. You could say it's not really so much a transformation as it is just Kaioken literally being pushed to 1 million. However, that level of increase in power is far greater than anything you might expect. Now, keep in mind, Diana and Goku have been relatively close in power this entire time. However, I've always said that the difference between the two of them is that Diana has a stronger base power than Goku. However, Goku, with his transformations, would always eventually outpower her. So, for anyone who's wondering who's stronger between the two of them, if it came down to a fight purely in base form, no transformations, nothing like that, Diana would hold the slight edge. However, once you start getting transformations involved, Goku easily overtakes her. And that was pretty much the understanding that the two of them had. Goku, in the meantime, would be learning more about himself. He would be training with the Yardratians to gain more self-control as he attempted to master the Super Saiyan form. Vegeta would pay close attention as he too would try to grasp and understand the meaning of Super Saiyan, stumbling and falling in the process. Gohan would continue on in his training as well, although he wasn't going to be attempting Super Saiyan anytime soon. With his gains, from suffering full-on death and coming back, the Zenkai boost he gained on top of his own mixed DNA as half Amazonian and half Saiyan, safe to say he was able to make major gains in power. I would say that the current level that Gohan was at right now, he could definitely hold his own against Form 2 Frieza, and while he would struggle, he could do decently against Form 3, although Final Form Frieza would definitely be where he would still hit the limit. But if he went all out against Form 2 Frieza, he could definitely do some major damage and probably even kill him if he played his cards right. In the meantime, what about the other Z fighters? What were they doing? Well, everyone else had returned back to Earth. Of course, they had tried to wish for Goku and the others to be brought back to Earth with them, but when Shenron explained that the four would be returning at their own time and would not be leaving, there wasn't really anything else that they could do. Radix was taking advantage of the time as he and Chi-Chi started to get a lot closer. You could say that they had already formed a relationship of sorts, but now things were starting to go to the next level. It had even gotten to the point where Radix had met with Chi-Chi's father, the Ox King, and the Ox King saw great potential in Radix, so much so that it was only a matter of time before the idea of marriage was going to be thrown around. However, things would not stay relatively calm, as after around a year's time, a large power level could be sensed coming to Earth, and that was King Cold. Of course, unlike in the original where Frieza was somehow salvaged and turned into Mecha Frieza, here there was no such thing. King Cold had been searching, trying to figure out what had happened to his son. And when there was no traces of him or of any word or mention, King Cold had made his way to Namek. After some persuasion, he would learn the whereabouts of those that had killed Frieza. And, to save the trouble, he made sure Namek was no more, and that Earth would face the same. King Kai would be devastated, so much so that he would warn Goku and the others of what had happened with King Cold, and what was about to happen to Earth. A swell of anger entered into Goku. The idea of the Namekians now suffering once again. Without any hesitation, they would get into their spaceship and they would make their way towards Earth as quickly as possible. Goku and Vegeta and Diana ready for battle. In the meantime, the Earthlings had gathered together also. They weren't sure of what was going to happen next, or if Goku and the others were even going to make it in time. They had to be prepared for the worst case scenario. As King Cold's ships hovered outside of Earth's atmosphere, he looked down upon the planet. Puny, pathetic, it's named after dirt, and yet trash from that planet dared to kill his son. Well, safe to say, King Cold was going to make sure that the Saiyans would know their place. Them and all of the other miscreants that dared to oppose his reign. He was preparing to fire a large planet-destroying attack when suddenly it would be destroyed. Making it just in the nick of time, Goku and the others using instant transmission would arrive to around Earth's atmosphere. Goku and Vegeta looking up towards King Cold. Diana would go back down to the ground level along with Gohan, meeting with the others. Everyone surprised to see that they had returned. As she looked up, she would tell them that Goku and Vegeta were here, and that they were going to finish things. King Cold would laugh maniacally, seeing a low-class Saiyan and the former Prince of all Saiyans. It had to be a joke. These were the two? They were the ones that had killed Frieza? Well, he would soon get his answer. As the two would transform, the legendary glow forming around them, two Super Saiyans standing ready for battle. King Cold's forces would be wiped out in an instant, and while Goku dealt with the remaining soldiers, sparing their lives and allowing them to run and flee, Vegeta would deal the finishing blow to King Cold, not even giving him the chance to transform, as he buried his fist into his gut before firing off a Gallic gun. Supercharged by his Super Saiyan transformation, he felt the ultimate vindication, now knowing that the rest of Frieza's clan were wiped out and destroyed once and for all. After gathering the Dragon Balls once again, Namek would be restored along with the Namekians, who would be extremely grateful for now having survived yet another extinction-level attack. And just to make sure that everything was on the up and up, they would also have to make sure that their planet would be a lot more well hidden, just in case anyone else came after them for any given reason. Of course now, with Goku and the others now on Earth, and everyone gathered once again, there was still the matter of learning what had happened, where they had been, and what they had been doing. Goku would explain to them all their adventures and everything they had gone through, and for the most part, everyone was ready to get on with their lives. It seemed as though peace had finally come back to the galaxy, and there wasn't really anything to worry about. At least, that's what they thought. Goku, Diana, and Gohan would make their way back home, a place they hadn't been in a while. They were just getting ready for dinner when Goku heard a knock on the door. A young boy would be standing there, a boy with pink hair and dressed in a Capsule Corp jacket with a sword on his back. Goku would step outside along with Diana, who would keep Gohan at a distance. Can I help you? You're Son Goku, are you not? Yeah, I am. What can I do for you, pal? This isn't gonna make any sense. I don't expect you to believe me, but I please beg of you to do so. In 3 years' time, there's going to be an attack, and you need to be ready for it. An attack? What do you mean? On May 12th, in southwest of South City, 2 beings will emerge. They're going to bring death and destruction with them. We refer to them as androids. They're going to wipe away all of humanity, destroy Earth's great defenses, and leave nothing left. They were created by an organization, one that you and your wife are very familiar with, the Red Ribbon Army. Goku and Diana would look to one another, shocked to hear that the Red Ribbon Army, after all this time, were still around. But how? Goku would say. We defeated the Red Ribbon Army a long time ago. You defeated the army. However, the doctor managed to escape. Dr. Gero. And safe to say, he's had a vendetta against you ever since. You come from the future. I take it then that, yeah, there wasn't anyone left. Almost all of them were destroyed. All of Earth's greatest warriors. All save for 2. There were 2 that managed to survive. Well, technically speaking, 3, but only one of them were old enough to really do anything, and save for myself and my friend, although she... In either case, I can't stay here for too long. Just staying here, I've left her in the future by herself for long enough. But maybe I can bring her back in time. Maybe we can help. Wait, you have a friend. Isn't there anyone else that can help you? The only one that could was my master, your son. He trained the both of us the best he could. Although, eventually they caught up with him. Was there any way we could have stopped this? Goku would ask. I mean, how did I go out? You never even got to fight. Shortly before the androids attack, you are going to die, Goku. What do you mean? Diana would say. What do you mean he's going to die? I'm sorry to say this, but Goku's going to catch a heart virus. We're not sure of where it came from, but we know that it was deadly at the start. You will be one of its casualties. Because of this death, they weren't able to revive you with the Dragon Balls, and it was shortly after when the androids would make their assault. And what about Themyscira? What about my home, Themyscira was one of the few places that was targeted by the good doctor as a way of getting back at you. The island, the warriors, they were completely destroyed. There wasn't anything left. And once they had finished wasting away all life, they destroyed the island completely. Diana would be horrified at this. Her mother, her friends, everyone she had known and loved, they could all be dead. But how could they have any way of knowing this? How did they even know if what this boy said was true? I figure it's going to take some convincing, so I'll show you. The boy would step back. A glowing aura would form around him, and suddenly, he too turned into a Super Saiyan. He's like you, Diana would say. You're a Super Saiyan. Well, if that's the case, then you have to be someone's child. You do look familiar. Goku would take a closer look. The hair, the face. He saw shades of Vegeta, but the hair reminded him of Wait. Vegeta and Bulma? They have a kid together? If you don't mind, could you not go blabbing that out to everyone? If you do, then things might not happen between them and I might not be born. Sure. Wait, you said you had a friend, right? Does that mean there's someone else that survived into the future? I can't really give her identity either. If I do, then she might not be born. Another person is not born yet. Goku now had to try to rattle his brain around who that could be, but Trunks would have to get him on focus. That's not the point. Right now, what you need to stay focused of is beating the androids to make sure that the future survives. Yeah, but you already said I'm going to die. There's not really much that I can do. Not so likely, my friend. Trunks would hand Goku a vial. That there is medicine. There's no cure for the virus in your time, but in our world, we can treat it as well as the common cold. Just take some of this before you start feeling any symptoms, and you'll be good to go. Wow, really? Thanks. I'm depending on you, Goku. Even though I've been able to get back this far, in all likelihood, I won't be able to do anything from my world. What do you mean? Time travel doesn't work the way you think. Even if you're able to go back into the past, it doesn't change what's already happened in your own timeline. Mom knew this, but even still, she felt if there could at least be one outcome, one world where the androids' rule didn't come to last, then it was a win. I'm gonna have to go back soon. I'll survive for as long as I can. Hopefully, me and my friend can come back here and help you out, if it's even needed. Goku would nod, Diana and even Gohan watching on from the window, as the strange warrior from the future entered into his time machine. He would fly high into the sky above before suddenly disappearing into the night sky. Goku and Diana watching on together, both of them standing hand in hand. Well, so much for peace, Diana would say. It can't be helped. Although, I am thankful. He's given us a chance to save our world. Goku would then bring in the other Z-Fighters, making sure to keep Trunks' identity intact. He would warn them about the upcoming attack from the androids. Of course, it was met with skepticism. However, Piccolo would corroborate the story. Goku would be surprised by this, but Piccolo would explain that he wasn't too far away from the conversation, and with his hearing, he got all the details rather well, and he could corroborate with what Goku was saying. Of course, Vegeta wasn't really in the mood or didn't really care for these androids, but if they gave them the opportunity for him to test out his Super Saiyan power, then by all means, he was more than willing to see what was in store. Of course, the others were all going to have to train as well, knowing what was at stake. And with that, 3 years' time would pass, as the Z-Fighters prepared for the coming day, their battle against the androids. Before long, almost as if in the blink of an eye, in an instant, the morning of May 12th was upon them. Goku walked out of his room, dressed and ready for battle, along with Diana by his side. Gohan was already sitting outside, meditating, in a freshly made orange gi with a sword on his back. Piccolo was with him. Piccolo had been sort of a training partner along with the Sun family. Radix joined as well, along with Chi-Chi. Seems like you made it, bro, Goku would say. But of course, You act like I was going to be late. So, where's Cheetah? Who's Cheetah, you might be asking? Well, during the 3-year time skip, while Chi-Chi and Radix were training, they got together. And, safe to say, they helped add to the population of the Saiyan race. This would come in the birth of their daughter, Cheetah, the daughter of Radix and Chi-Chi. Cheetah's name is a play on Chi-Chi's name, with the first Chi, and Dai being short for Daikon Radish, which is a play on the name of Radix's name, which is the similarity to the vegetable radish. Thus, you get Cheetah. It's fine, Chi-Chi would say. I left Cheetah with my father this morning. Although, I hope this fight doesn't take too long. I don't like being away from my baby girl. Don't worry, dear, Radix would say. Once we take care of these tin can bucket of bolts, we'll be right back with our splendid daughter. And it'll be like all of this was nothing more but a faint little nightmare. Chi-Chi would smile at Radix, the two of them embracing, as Piccolo would simply roll his eyes. If you're done with the love fest, we need to get moving. We don't know when these androids are going to strike, but there's no point in delaying the inevitable. The others will probably meet us there. And with that, the Z-Fighters would fly into the air as they made their way southwest of South City. The day had finally come, and the conflict with the androids loomed over them. However, they wouldn't be the only ones making their way, as in downtown of southwest of South City, a young man wearing a baggy hoodie and sweatpants would step off of a bus. As he did so, he looked around, scoping the entire area. The man's name was Victor Stone, and today, he was looking for revenge. This concludes Dragon Ball World's Strongest. What if Wonder Woman was in Dragon Ball? Part 13. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we begin a new series on the channel, Bleach Legacy. What if Superman was in Bleach? Season 1, Part 1. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.